Hey everybody, welcome to the Ground Effect podcast, where we dive into the heart of Formula One, bringing you the latest news, insider analysis, and sharing our thoughts on the motorsport we love. So come and join us, G and Mick, as we look forward to what promises to be an exciting 2025 Formula One season.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 2 of the Ground Effect podcast, where we continue our look at the driver lineups for the 2025 season.
In the previous episode, we went over Ferrari, Williams, Red Bull, RB, and Aston, and today we finish off the final 5 teams.
So who are we kicking off with today?
Well, let's start off with Mercedes. Big season ahead for Merc. Interesting times. We have a driver on the grid that looks like he's about 12 years old.
I don't even think he's had his first shave yet.
But clearly has a lot of pedigree in him. Big talk around him and how good this kid is. And he does look the goods when you look at his junior career, but massive amount of pressure on him, but probably at the best team.
Yeah, I mean, you would imagine a lot of that pressure is going to come from the outside. I don't think Toto's going to pile on the pressure for him. Again, like we've mentioned with a lot of the rookie drivers, just come in, learn the processes, the systems, get yourself close to your teammate and get yourself ready for 2026.
Well, I think it was a great coup for Mercedes in bringing back Valtteri Bottas. I think he's the type of driver that someone like Kimi Antonelli can lean into his experience. Bottas, history of being an excellent team player.
Yeah, he's definitely going to help Kimi, and he's going to help the team too. I think he will be doing a lot of work behind the scenes to help develop that car for 2026. And if something goes drastically wrong with Kimi, he's a plug-and-play driver, right?
Yeah. It's almost like an insurance policy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very good move from Mercedes there. Now we've got George Russell taking that number 1 driver seat for the first time at Mercedes. I think this is going to be a really good thing for him. I think he's the type of driver that thrives in a leadership position. I mean, we've seen him, especially last year, sort of taking the reins of certain off-track aspects of Formula One and making his thoughts on that clear. It's something that I think he's going to thrive in, and I think he is going to lead that team from the front.
Well, that's going to be the thing, right? That's where his biggest pressure is going to come from. He is the clear number 1. He's going to have to drive that team forward. I believe he can do it. You would imagine Mercedes is still going to be in one of those top 4 teams.
They definitely seem like one of the cars that's last year it just seemed to be very track dependent for them.
Yeah.
You kind of knew McLaren, Red Bull, and Ferrari to an extent were sort of contenders over most weekends, but there was just that Mercedes car that just seemed to pop up in specific situations. So
is that going to be enough for them to fight for a title? I don't think so.
No, I don't think they're in that league just yet. You just can't count them out for 2026, that's for sure.
Well, definitely 2026, that's a whole different kettle of fish. But as far as this season, yeah, I think if they can be 3rd, I think that's a good season.
Yeah, and a couple of race wins there. And, look, if Kimi, he's got potential. Does he win a race this year?
No.
No?
And I don't even really think that's going to be expected of him either.
No.
I think most of that, the weight of that all falls on George.
Well, there's definitely a bit of pressure there. He had that FP1 incident at Monza, I believe it was, where he went off. Was that the first time lap?
Yeah. I think it was only like his 3rd lap. So he did an out lap and then started his quick lap.
Yeah.
And then put it in the weeds.
Well, let's see. Let's see how he goes. It's going to be intriguing, that one. That's for sure.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I think having someone like Valtteri there is going to relieve a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and I think also, even George being top dog there, he has a history of being a good team player as well. And I think he's not going to alienate or intimidate Kimi.
I don't believe he can, but do you think George is a title contender this year?
If Mercedes brings a car that can compete, I actually think George has more ruthlessness in him than, say, Lando.
Yes.
There's something about George, you look at him and you think of like a piss poor wind could blow him over. I definitely wouldn't put money on him if if what we had last year with that little bit of a tiff with Max came, we got the gloves on. But there's something about George where in the car, he's a very smart driver. But I believe he's not afraid to get those elbows out and race hard. And I think probably a bit of a coming of age for him was, well, I think what gives him a lot of confidence was that time where, okay, he won the race, but he was disqualified in the end, where he sort of made the call what he wanted to do with regards to strategy, and he overcome Lewis Hamilton. I can't remember where it was.
It was at Spa.
At Spa, I think, but he was inevitably disqualified from the result. He's not going to be intimidated by anyone. He's not intimidated by the team. Like, he was happy to take charge of like what he wanted. And I think he'll look back at that moment as that's the tipping point where, yeah, I've got this. I can lead the team.
Yeah, no, I have to agree.
But yeah, if he's in a car that's capable, I think he'll give someone, definitely, whether it's Max or Lando, a run for his money.
I think he's got more of a killer instinct than someone like Lando.
Yeah.
As much as I love Lando, I mean,
yeah,
I would say, learnt a lot from last season racing Max. You sort of understand the rules of engagement, but I think you're probably going to get the same kind of racing from George as you would from Max.
Yeah, but I think also just being alongside Lewis for those few seasons, I reckon he's taken note of how Lewis has operated in the team and how he uses his influence to mold the team around him. I mean, yeah, we could disagree and say that the last couple of seasons for Lewis at Mercedes was not the greatest, etc. But I still think he's that smart enough of a driver to have taken in a lot of, I think, Lewis's experience and how Lewis manages things. And I just think he's just going to relish being that designated number one driver.
Yep, agreed.
Now, speaking of being ruthless enough, Lando Norris at McLaren challenged Max for the title last year, but sort of fell away sort of near the end. A lot of observers, just as we're talking about, does he have that ruthlessness in him to send it up the inside at the correct time, etc.? Like, has he figured that one out? Is he going to be a challenger for the World Drivers' title this year?
Yes, for me, he needs to be very careful because I think Oscar's coming for him this year.
That's a very good point.
Oscar's not looking to be nice, and I don't think Oscar has time to wait. He needs to do it, and he needs to do it early.
And what better at his home race in Melbourne?
Yeah, exactly.
Break the shackles early.
Get the upper hand, because you don't want to get to mid-season and have the same situation you had as last year.
His third season now, so he's, I think, acclimatized to the team. I think he's going to have more comfort within the team, getting people operating around him.
Yeah.
I think qualifying, he was just too inconsistent, and that sort of allowed Lando to forge ahead and sort of take control of those intra-driver dynamics of who the number one and number two are.
Yeah, again, he's another driver where it's like, man, this dude's only in his third season. Like, it feels like he's been around forever. And I think a lot of that's got to do with that calm head on his shoulders. He just seems like he's been around forever. But I think third year in, he doesn't want a repeat of last season. So he knows he's going to have to get on top and get on top early. And I actually think he's probably a little bit more killer. He's got a bit more dog in him than Lando does.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely off the bat. And I think we're going to see that this year. I think there's going to be a big change there. And it'll be interesting to see how those dynamics work out, because if Oscar gets sort of the jump on Lando, does Lando play the role that Oscar played begrudgingly last year? I'm not sure. I don't think he will. And I think that could upset
the apple cart.
The apple cart, yeah. So McLaren's got while you look on paper and you go, what a driver lineup, two young guys that are capable to win world championships. But they've got the problem where they've got drivers that can take away points from each other.
Yeah. Well, you would imagine that this year, all things being equal, that they would come straight out of the box and be on the money. Because obviously, yes, you got 2026, and that's a complete unknown. Like, you don't know. They might fall back to the bottom of the grid. So you would imagine that this year, out of the box, is their proper first shot at going for both from the beginning of the season, not gain momentum a quarter of the way through the season to be good enough to win the Constructors. You think Lando and Oscar could be leading the championship before halfway through the season.
You kind of think for both drivers, you look at Lando and you go, Surely he's learned his lesson from last year about being a little bit more ruthless, a little bit more racy. And then you think of Oscar and you think, be a little bit more consistent. Don't let Lando get ahead.
A consistent Oscar is going to be a dangerous Oscar for Lando. Like you said, that inconsistency kind of saved Lando last year.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, Alpine, again, I look at Alpine a little bit like Aston Martin, where I don't think too much changes there. I think they're looking more to 2026. Now, they've brought in a new driver in the likes of
Jack Doohan.
Doohan.
That's going to be the biggest story of Alpine this season.
That is the hottest seat in the sense of pressure. That thing is boiling and it's about to pop because we've got Colapinto waiting in the wings and we have good old Briatore stirring things up and making it pretty clear that
who the preferred driver is.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, Jack Doohan, I mean, a lot of pundits were saying that it was a little bit of an odd signing, but I mean, if Alpine had the big fallout with Piastri as well.
Which means the next driver up is Jack.
Yeah, so...
Well, did he get lucky or was it just Alpine doing the needful, right, you're next in line, so we'll give you the seat, but there's this kid here that we really want in the car.
Well, you got to perform from the get-go. No better place than your home race in Melbourne. Now, the good thing is for Doohan is he had the cameo one race appearance at the end of the season last year in Abu Dhabi. So I think he'll take a lot of heart in that, staying out of trouble, finishing the race. In my mind, he has about 5 or 6 races to be on the pace of Gasly.
Yeah.
And if he can't do it, it's just a straight replacement, possibly by the European leg.
Yeah. Doohan, he's going to bring the car home in one piece. He's going to be super consistent, I believe. He doesn't, well, I haven't seen it yet, but I don't know if he's got that blinding pace of someone like Colapinto. You know, he's proven it. Colapinto, you know, shown that he's got speed.
Well, he came in with a hiss, didn't he, in that replacement for Logan Sargent, and then sort of, you could say, disappointed the last few races with a few mistakes.
A few. I think he crashed literally in at least one session in the last, 3, 4 Grand Prix?
I mean, those Williams mechanics have been putting in work.
Mate, they deserve a pay rise, surely.
Pay rise. They were definitely putting in work, that's for sure. Colapinto is a very interesting one because, it's easy to sort of like see a driver come in, do well, and then you sort of think, oh, they're the next big thing. I guess what Colapinto does have is, from the commercial side, he's Argentinian, so big South American fan base. I think that also brings in a lot of potential sponsors as well. So he's definitely waiting in the wings, and I think Briatore has already made up his mind.
Yeah.
Who sits in that seat. It would have to be an absolute stonker start of the season for Jack Doohan to hold that seat.
Yeah, and that's the pressure, right? That's what he's got to do. He's got to come out and show that he deserves to be there.
He's just got to stick it to Gasly, basically.
Yeah.
Because then that puts Briatore in a bit of a sticky situation.
Yeah. And then what if Gasly doesn't perform? You would imagine Gasly being a French driver in a French team.
Well, I feel like the shackles are off for Gasly. He's like the dedicated number one driver here.
Yeah, of course.
Because he sort of had to share the role with Ocon, and naturally they have a history.
Yep.
Now it's like, this is your team, Pierre. You're clearly the number one. We've got essentially 2 rookies that are going to sit next to you. We don't know which one's going to be there by the end of the season, but this is your team. You've got to drive us forward.
Yeah. Yeah, not expecting too much from Alpine this year. Like I said, that driver battle, who's going to take the seat, that's probably going to be the biggest story from Alpine this year.
Yeah.
And then,
I think eyes for them in 2026.
Yeah, and switching to the Mercedes power unit, which is interesting in itself, but we'll get onto that one later.
Yeah. Now, Ocon moved from Alpine and he has slotted into Haas. Now, Haas are the only team on the grid with 2 brand new drivers, although Ollie Behrman did race for them. How many races did he do with Haas? Because it was Ferrari initially.
Yeah.
And then Haas at the end of the season.
He did Brazil.
Yep. It was a bonkers season last year with just people just coming and going.
Yeah. I think Brazil was the last drive he had.
Do we rate Ollie?
50-50.
Yeah, for me, the jury's still out on him. Because he came in and did a great job in Saudi for Ferrari.
But he should have, because
What was
he was
it?
in a Ferrari.
Yeah, he's in a Ferrari. He's in a good car, and he did well. I mean, comprehensively beaten by Charles, but expected.
Expected.
Finished off strongly with, I think it was Hamilton and somebody else breathing down his neck in the closing stages. And look, that Saudi track isn't an easy track just to sort of jump in and rag the car around. So he definitely did a good job.
I mean, I think Berman, they put him in there. Just hang around here, bro. Figure it all out. Get yourself ready, because once Hamilton goes, which he is going to go at some point.
Yeah.
Could be end of 2026. Maybe, who knows. But once Hamilton goes, he's next in line. He's going to get the seat, being their junior driver. I think there's so much pressure on Ocon this year.
Well, it's a bit of a make or break one, because he's had a bit of an interesting career, bounced around a few teams now. This is really his last opportunity to prove that he belongs in a top team.
Yeah, well, it's his fourth different team.
Yeah.
You know, he still hasn't had a shot in a big team. Like you said, he needs to prove that he's worthy of being in a big team. Because I think after Haas, your options are out, mate. Where are you going to go?
And what are Haas going to give us this year? Are we going to see any improvement from them, or are they just purely 2026 focused?
Well, it's a tough one, because Haas were killing it there for a bit.
There were a few moments,
of
qualifying and
I think Hulkenberg did a brilliant job.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be expected of Ocon, is to carry on that sort of performance.
Has to dominate Behrman though.
Yeah.
Otherwise he's cooked.
Of course. I think, to be honest, no pressure on Behrman whatsoever. Like I said, Ferrari plugged him in. Here you go, man. Get yourself ready for when that seat opens up.
Yep.
And yeah, Ocon's
make or break.
Yeah.
It's a Yuki season for him, basically.
Yeah. He's got it.
If you look at the drivers overall, you've got a couple there that are make or break, and it's definitely Ocon and Yuki in my eyes.
Yeah, they're definitely for me. Ocon.
I mean, less risk for Ocon. I can see him sort of just being in Haas for a few years and whatnot, but I think it's just whether he can ever end up in a leading team. Yeah. I think the days are getting numbered.
Yep, agreed.
Now, he touched on Hulkenberg. Naturally, Kevin Magnussen has left, and he is driving for BMW and WEC, isn't it, Magnussen?
IMSA.
IMSA.
Okay, IMSA and WEC.
Okay, yep. And Hulkenberg has moved on to Sauber. Now, are they still Kick Sauber this year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Kick Sauber.
Kick Sauber, and then there will be Audi 2026, won't they?
Yeah, so I think Hulkenberg might do a bit better job than Guan Yu Zhou and Bottas, but that team is just holding pattern.
That car was pretty horrible.
Yeah, I mean this team is just pure holding pattern.
Yeah,
there's
holding pattern until
I would just roll out with last year's car, new front wing, new rear wing, new side pods, and go, right, boys, this is it. This is what you got. Don't worry about it. Don't stress.
Well, I mean, I don't see it happening this year, but are we ever going to see Hulkenberg on the podium? Ever?
Not unless that Audi's on the money. I don't think so.
I tell you, I want to see Hulkenberg on the podium. That's for sure. He deserves a podium. Please, Formula One gods.
Yeah, I mean, since he's come back, man, he's done
pretty well.
He's done way better than he did in the first half.
Now, he's sitting alongside. Now, he's clearly number one driver. German, Audi coming in. It all makes sense. Experience. But I believe he's sitting alongside probably the most unknown rookie driver for this year in Bortoleto.
Yep.
Because, okay, Behrman, we still class him as a rookie for first full season, but we've seen him. Liam Lawson, we've seen. Hadjar, because of the F2.
You look at Bortoleto's pedigree, man.
Yeah.
He won the F3 in 2023 and then was the F2 champion.
Yes, true. Affiliated with McLaren, wasn't he?
Yes, he was a McLaren driver, yeah.
So that'll be sort of interesting. I think, look, he's got a great experienced driver alongside him, and a guy, again, I look at Hulkenberg and I think to myself, he's not an individualistic type of guy. You can kind of see that. I think he would be happy to lean on his experience to Bortoleto. He's old enough now to know that it's all about just getting this team up the order.
Yeah.
So I don't think he definitely won't neglect Bortoleto.
I mean, Bortoleto essentially, I think, took that seat to put himself in the shop window.
Yeah.
Because without this drive, he had no other options.
Well, that's the thing. There's limited opportunity, isn't there? So
Yeah.
you sort of got to sometimes take what you can get. But I mean, it's not a bad seat to jump into. Okay, sure, 2025, probably backmarker, but, the Audi investment.
It's just a shame that we probably won't see quite how good he really is.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. He just needs to match Hulkenberg.
Do you think he will?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he'll be close enough. That's all he's got to do. I don't think there's too much pressure on him either. I mean, you're in a back market team. Not a lot of eyes are on you. You're just going to be judged purely on how you go against your teammate. No one's expecting you to be picking up points. So I think it's not a bad seat to be in as a rookie. You just stay out of trouble, keep it on the tarmac, and just match your teammate. That's all he needs to do.
Going to be judged on how badly you come last, in my opinion.
That's it.
Yeah.
I
as
would
long
say,
as you don't get hammered.
I would say out of all the rookies, he's probably got I wouldn't say the easiest job, but the job with less pressure.
Yeah.
Because all the other guys, they need to perform.
Yep.
Liam needs to show that he deserves to be in a top team with very little experience. Hadjar, just purely because it's the whole Red Bull thing, and they're just ruthless there. Kimi, a lot of pressure on him, of course, but I think they'll be patient with him. They see the potential there. They're looking years ahead. Whoever missed. Did I say Behrman? We talked about Behrman.
Yeah, we spoke about Behrman.
But, he's already had a few races, got over those first initial races that I think will bode well for him.
Prove to Ferrari that you're good enough to take that seat when Sir Lewis decides to walk away.
So, yeah.
Well, we've gone through all the teams now. Your top 3 constructors. We're doing this now without looking at tests, so we can come back to this later on and see how completely wrong we were.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think too much changes. I think it's going to be the same old spaghettis. We're going to look at, I have a feeling McLaren's going to implode.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're going to implode internally with just the driver dynamics. I think they're going to start off really well, but you're going to have Oscar and Lando both in the mix, and I think that will be their downfall. I think Red Bull will sneak through again. I think it's going to be Max's championship, and I think it's going to be Red Bull's constructors.
Okay, so Red Bull first. I'm talking constructors. Red Bull first. Second?
Ferrari
again.
Yeah.
Third?
McLaren.
There you go. So I'm going to go Ferrari for constructors, McLaren second, Red Bull third.
Driver champion?
Driver champion. Whoa. I'm going to say Oscar. Oscar for driver champion. With Lando second.
Oh, not even Max on the second.
No, actually, that won't work. So I'm going to say Oscar for champion, Charles second, Max third.
I think Max wins again. And second and third, we're going to be looking at Charles Leclerc second.
Charles second, yeah.
And Oscar third.
Oscar third. There you go. So you've heard it here.
Yeah, but I mean, those predictions will completely change once we see a
well, I was
going to
say, we can come back at the end of the season and see how completely wrong we were.
Well, we've got a lot of excitement coming up. We've got the
season launch.
Season launch, which is going to be a bit of a funny one because they're combining the launch as it's the 75th year of Formula One.
Yep.
Are we going to see real cars or not? Because we've read that, was it Sauber? They're not going to bring in a car, are they? It's essentially we're going to see liveries. We're not going to see the cars.
Yeah, it's a livery launch. I would
so it's more of a
car launch.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. So I think we're going to just sort of see liveries, and so we'll go over that
and then look to testing.
All I want to see is Red Bull change their damn livery.
Which you know is not going to happen, right? To be honest, I don't think you're going to see anything different.
Someone's going to do something different.
You reckon?
Someone's going to do something different.
Okay. They're all going to be same, maybe a little bit different. There's going to be white or a darker shade here, a darker shade there, a bit more carbon here, a bit more carbon there. It's not going to change too much. So I think in the next episode, we'll cover the car launch.
And
the livery launch.
The livery launches and
then look forward to testing.
Testing, which begins
on the 26th.
Bahrain on the 26th, 3-day testing. So that will come up nice and quick and that will give us a little bit of a preview of what's to come for this year. I don't think too much changes, probably be a few surprises. Everyone obviously is going to make a big deal of what times Hamilton can do in comparison to Charles and vice versa, but we're not going to really know too much until
Q3 in Australia.
So there you have it. All 10 teams covered. And
our shady predictions.
Very shady predictions. Very much so. So thanks for joining us.
And we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, episode 3.
Laters.
Laters.